I need you to knock some sense into me. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I don't know.
I enjoy listening to you. I don't always agree with everything.
All right. Enough of this persiflage.
So, you want my question?
I'm certainly not going to get myself in trouble by telling you what to do.
That makes great sense. Gosh, that's good.
Did I overwhelm you with words and wisdom?
I've got 7 kids. I feel like I could call you every day.
Wait, you're telling me I'm wrong? Disconnect.
Yes, I am, Dr. Ray.
You just need to tune in to Dr. Ray, honey. She's got all the answers.
Am I right or am I right?
Probably.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
She could have said possibly, but she did say probably. I would have liked her to have said likely, highly likely, but I'll take the probably. Good to have you with me here on The Doctor Is In. This is the Monday version, variant of The Doctor Is In. This is aptly titled, being linguistically sensitive, not wanting to offend, being aware what's coming out of my mouth. Language changes constantly. You can't keep up with all the language police rules. This is E-Person Monday. I'd much rather prefer to say email, but again, it narrows it down. Although I've often wondered the hymns that are sung at Mass, where the older versions of the hymns had the male gender. I hate to use gender because gender is like the sense of what one's sexuality is, but would say men, or they'd refer to God in the male sense, and those have all been kind of changed. You know, instead of when they would say something like, so God is, and then we something his, it's changed, so God is, and then we something God does, and we just repeat God rather than saying he or him. Never mind, I digress. This is, as I said, E-Person Monday, and we shall get to those shortly. C.S. Lewis talked about the image of heaven. We say, well, we'll be sharing the beatific vision. We'll be with God, and that will be all we will need. But you got to admit, you wonder a little bit, don't you? What will it be like? There has to be no time in heaven, because time is a measurement of change, and so I can't wrap my head around no time, because obviously if we can see loved ones and somehow communicate with loved ones, that means there is a passage of time. So I really have no idea what heaven will be. Obviously, when people try, they make it a glorified version of here. Streets paved with gold. Happy all the time. No more tears. And that's the way Scripture describes it, too. But what is it like? And I think C.S. Lewis said something similar. He said we can't grasp it. It's a form of existence completely unlike anything we know here. As St. Paul says, eye has not seen, ear has not heard, mind cannot conceive what God has ready for those who love Him. We're not capable of it. This was something from a guy named Max Stossel. I don't think he's any relationship to John. He tells this story. I thought it was fascinating. There's a parallel between this story and people who say, look, this whole idea that we're gone to some kind of eternal bliss, we got no evidence for that. It's a mind concoction. Cosmic therapy. It's just something that we want to believe that makes us feel good. Stossel tells this story. 2 babies are in a womb. One turns to the other and asks, "Do you believe in life after delivery?" Well, yeah. There has to be something after delivery. Maybe we're here to prepare ourselves for what will come later. Nonsense, says the first. There's no life after delivery. What kind of life would there be? There it is. See the parallel between how do you imagine what it could be? The other baby says, I don't know, but there'll be more light than here. Maybe we'll walk with our legs and eat with our mouths. Maybe we'll have other senses that we can't understand now. The first baby says, that's ridiculous. Walking is impossible. And eating with our mouths, that's absurd. The umbilical cord is what scientifically supplies nutrition and all that we need, but it's far too short. Life after delivery has to be logically excluded. In other words, because I can't conceive of what it could be like after this, there must not be something after this. The second baby says, what if it's different, very different than it is here? Maybe we don't need that physical cord anymore. Other baby says, okay, then tell me. If there's life after delivery, why has no one ever come back from there? And in after delivery, there is nothing but darkness and silence and oblivion. It takes us nowhere. By the way, just to insert my own point here, read some of Father Robert Spitzer's stuff and some of Jimmy Akin's reports on near-death experiences. People who have somehow, some way, and there have been a lot of them, a boatload of them, and they've been studied too. I forget that New York Academy of Sciences looked into this, and some of this stuff's really hard to explain. These are people who have had experiences there's no way they should have known. So, well, science is starting to point a little stronger toward something is there. The second baby says, but certainly after delivery we'll meet Mother, and she'll take care of us. The first says, Mother? You actually believe in Mother? If Mother exists, where is she now? The second one says, she's all around us. We are of her. It is in her that we live. Without her, this world we're in would not and could not exist. The first baby argues, I don't see her. Can't see her. So therefore, it's only logical she's not here. The second replied, sometimes when you're in silence and you really listen, you can perceive her presence. You can hear her loving voice calling down from above. Dr. Ray.
You're listening to The Doctor. Come in. Pull up a couch. Let's talk. The Doctor is in.
Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Ray. On Wednesday, August 13th, at Our Lady of Good Counsel Church in Plymouth, I'm going to be doing a stand-up comedy routine, and it is free. That's right. So I don't know what that says I'm worth. The event is at 6:30, but Mass is at 6. So you can go to Mass, and I guarantee you're going to laugh. We're going to have a facilitated Q&A with Marcus Peter, and there will be pizza. I think that's free, too.
We can confirm, Dr. Ray, it's free and funny. Wednesday, August 13th at Our Lady of Good Counsel.
I don't think we've replaced our siding since we moved in 20 years ago. But I'm sure it's still fine, right?
We better call Mighty Dog Roofing of Ann Arbor.
Damaged siding can cause mold buildup and weaken your home structure. Protect your family by calling local Catholics Dan and Mary Flanagan at Mighty Dog Roofing for a free inspection of your siding, roof, or windows. Mighty Dog Roofing, 734-224-4916. That's 734-224-4916.
Hi, everybody. Dr. Ray Grandy, host of The Doctor Is In Ave Maria Radio for 20 years. I've been with them, and during that time I've watched them spread our precious faith to anyone, anywhere. Well, also in that time, their equipment, the equipment that they had is cutting edge, no longer is cutting edge. It's kind of like an iPhone 5. We need your help. We absolutely need your help. Visit AveMariaRadio.net. You're not just donating, you're broadcasting hope.
Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866-AVE-MARIA or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
Thank you for joining me here. Doctor's In. My compadre there in Ann Arbor, Andrew Kruchek, takes care of the music, takes care of the boards, running the board. He controls the whole program. We get calls here about people in your life who are controlling. He's very controlling. He decides when I have to shut up, when I have to go to another break, when I can't say any more because we're done. So he totally controls everything. I get to fit in stuff in between. Hi, Dr. Ray. So you know that there's a 92% chance this is a female asking this question. I have a very uncomfortable question. Yeah, I'm going to give you 10 or so seconds. This is a delicate question, and I will euphemize some of the terms. So given that, my phone just kind of, I have these on my phone, and so if a call comes in, it just wipes it out. But I got back to it. So given that, I'm going to give you a few seconds. You got the kids listening or anybody nearby. Let me look at the clock here. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A few months ago, they keep calling. A few months ago, my 10-year-old daughter got out of bed when she should have been asleep and came to our room to see us in the marital act. She had already asked a lot about how babies were made, and I was able to have a good conversation with her about that. So she knew what she saw, but she felt and continues to feel very guilty for seeing such a private act. Many nights before bed, she tells me anxiously that she feels so upset and still thinks about that. I have told her many times that she does not have to feel guilty and that her mom and dad love one another so much, and it's a beautiful thing, and she will understand when she's older. Boy, those are great explanations. So why ain't they working, right? That will calm her down for the night, and she still brings it up often. I would have guessed this next line. She has always been a very sensitive and emotional kid. She's talked with our priest before about how she holds on to past sins and thinks about wrong she's done, even though she knows she should let them go. I'm worried I'm not doing enough to help her with these anxieties, especially the one she seems most upset about. Okie dokie. Several levels of response. Everybody's wired different. Some kids could have that experience and not think another thing of it. Or they could laugh. Or they could be grossed out. Oh, ooh. Two old people. Never mind. Well, your little daughter absorbs this stuff because of the way she's wired. And you're, in essence, saying, how do I make her not be wired that way? Well, you don't. You hope that with time, because wiring is not determinative, it's predisposition. In other words, it leans you in a certain direction, but you still got a mind. Now, where your frustration is coming in is that you're trying to get her mind to calm down her emotion, and it's working in fits and starts. You get a day reprieve, and then after that, she slips back into ruminating about the whole thing. Here's what I always wonder. Is the fact that you are, very well-intentioned to reassure her, to calm her down, to keep reasoning with her, is it possible that that's keeping this alive? In other words, this has become the topic. Mom, I'm all stressed. Mom, this is bothering me again. Mom, it's going back in my head. Mom, I can't get it out of my head. Mom. And so you reassure like a good mom. Try to calm her down. Tell her how beautiful it is. And you're telling her all the right stuff. Of course you are. It's beautiful. But she's not absorbing it. At some point, you could tell her, you know, honey, I've told you everything I can tell you about this. And I really can't keep going over this and over this and over this. So at some point, you're gonna have to decide that what we did is beautiful. And you're making yourself feel terrible about something beautiful. Now, if you're going to do that, there's not a whole lot I can do about it. You have to decide, this is beautiful. This is not something to feel guilty about. And then at that point, Mom, you may just have to let this topic rest. These things tend to get a life of their own. This happens a lot. When a kid comes up with some kind of anxious response to something, the parent understandably wants to calm them down. And so they get into these long interchanges, which you would think, yes, this is what good parents do. But at some point, the law of diminishing returns kicks in. And now this just becomes a reiterating topic. You decide, Mom. If you're asking me, is there some kind of magic word or phrases or reasoning that's going to help your daughter? Oh, I see now, Mom. Okie doke. All right, I'm good. Unlikely. Very much unlikely. And I suspect that as you keep revisiting the topic, you're thinking, at some point, I'm going to come across the right reasoning. I'm going to come across something that makes itself heard and that she will lay this to rest. When you're dealing with anxious emotions, especially with a little kid, sometimes time is the major factor in calming it down. And sometimes the willingness to say, well, okay, we've been over this 27 times, and I'm thinking we're just going to let this rest now. Alrighty, where was that? That was back a ways. Okay, anonymous, yeah. All right, let me see the next one as I work my way up to the present day here. That one. Okay. All right, let me go to these. I have a stack here, too, that I've been kind of keeping aside because I need to get to them. I'm in a corn chip, Dr. Ray, it seems that there may be potential for an engagement down the road in several months. Either the end of this year or the beginning of next. My boyfriend and I have been discussing a lot of hypotheticals regarding marriage. Who gets invited, all those details. Yes, I know. Oh, man, that is when you try to decide who to invite and where the cutoff point's going to be, and you got this one cousin that you're really, really close to, and you want that cousin there, but there's 12 other cousins, and you just can't afford to pay $38 for a meal because you haven't seen the 6 of the cousins in 12 years. Yeah, I know. And then your mom or your dad, well, not so much dad, but mom comes in, here's my list. Well, you got to invite Aunt Mary. She's invited us to her sons. You got to invite her. And you're thinking, I haven't seen Aunt Mary in 9 years. I know. Okay, here we go. I was talking with my mom about all this. The problem, or the questions I have, are about some of my relatives. Here we go. Usually, it seems, one is obligated to invite all their relatives if they're in the country. But mine, practically none are Catholic, or practicing if they are Catholic. There are some moral issues, too. My aunt, on my dad's side, his sister, my dad passed away in January of this year, so I feel the bridge between us and his side has collapsed. Has been twice divorced and is now cohabitating. Wherever she goes, her partner goes. He was at my dad's funeral, and Mom and I felt very uncomfortable with it all. I don't know if she'd get offended and mad at being excluded, or if her boys were invited but excluded. She was excluded. Oh, I do know. Oh, if I were a betting man, I'd give you 9-1 odds. She definitely would take it personally. She definitely would get upset. Yeah, no question. And if she realized your reluctance, she'd definitely accuse you of being judgmental. Mm-hmm. Or, Dr. Ray, if her brother was invited but not her, there's no telling how she'd react, if not childish. Oh, she'd react nasty. Yeah, it's almost a given. I've seen so many families break up when somebody feels they should be in a wedding. You know, if they're not in a wedding, they're not in the bridal party, the groom's party. Oh, man, they take it so personal. Would I be obligated to invite her? You're not obligated to invite anybody. What you're saying is, if I don't invite her, will she accept it? That's a totally different question. No, I don't think she will. I don't think she will. So you have to decide. Is there a non-offensive way in handling this? I suppose the closest you could get would be, would be to say, we had to cut our list somewhere because we simply couldn't afford a large invitation list. Now, of course, her comeback to that would be, wait a minute, I'm a close relative. I'm an aunt. So where are you cutting it off at? And then secondly, if she gets word that there's 274 people at your reception, she's going to think, well, apparently they didn't cut it off so closely. There's more to this. More to it when I get back. Nice to have you with me, Dr. Ray Guarendi. Pursuing the end of this e-person. Quick summary. A young lady who is engaged, and they're going through who do you invite, who do you not invite, where do you cut it off, who's going to get offended, who finds out they're not invited that should have been invited. Now, she's got a bunch of relatives. She's got some aunts and uncles who are pretty much living the way they wish to live. If they are Catholic or deciding to ignore Catholic's moral teaching, Catholic Church's moral teaching, they're doing that. And they're receiving communion, all of these things. She's very uncomfortable with them. For the most part, she doesn't have a whole lot to do with them. Maybe not out of hostility, just the fact that they live very different lives. Well, now they're going over this list. And she's asking, am I obligated to invite them? Well, no, you're not obligated to invite anybody. If you want, you can have a wedding with your witnesses and 10 of the closest people in your life. That's it. You're not obligated to do that. My son got married, and it was a very, very small wedding. He got a job in another state. They had to prepare. Check this out. 3 weeks they had to put this wedding together. And, yes, it was very, very intimate. Probably, I don't know, 60 to 100 people there at the reception, maybe. It's beautiful. No big deal. There were just hordes of people who could have been invited but weren't because it was a small wedding. So you're not obligated to invite anybody. Now the question becomes, what if you don't? And that seems to be your concern. She goes on. The other relative I'm concerned about is my mom's brother. Okay, we're getting pretty close here now. He married a woman, and she puts married in quotes. I don't call her aunt anymore, nor have I seen her in ages, who was already previously married, and they were all Catholic. She divorced, and in the eyes of the church, she's still married and committing adultery with my uncle. I'm totally against this, of course, and I'm reluctant to have them or her, at least at the wedding, because of the moral issues. Am I obligated to invite them or her? Again, no. But the bigger question is, and I'm going to address this here in a moment, the moral issues. I am not worried about family cohesion with my relatives since I don't think there's much already. I'm just not sure how I would not invite them and only invite certain relatives. I don't want to seem mean or rude. Well, they're going to think that. There's no way around that. But I also don't want to... Now, here's the key line, and I didn't see this coming. I also don't want to encourage behavior contrary to church teaching. You're not doing that at all. Not in the least. Let me draw a parallel to all the folks at Mass who go up for communion. Obviously, we can't know the state of their souls. But I would guess there's a whole lot of people going up to communion who have missed Mass many times or who are living in ways that are seriously sinful. They go to communion. Why? Well, that's just what you do at Mass. You just go up and go to communion. So the priest can't vet all of them. He can't say, well, first I got to interview you to make sure you're worthy to come to communion. Or I want to make sure that you're taking part in our communion, that you're essentially saying, I agree with and believe all that the Catholic Church teaches, which is one of the statements you make when you take the Eucharist. He's not doing that. He can't do that. So given that, if you say, I'm really unsure of having them at my wedding because they're living in ways that are extremely counter to what I believe is the faith. Now, they don't, keeping in mind that. I doubt that they're saying, well, yeah, I was raised Catholic, and this goes completely against the Catholic faith, and I know that, and, well, I'm doing it anyway. No, my guess would be they don't care, or they don't think it's wrong. So if you're asking me, and I think most priests would probably say this, you're not doing anything wrong by inviting them to your wedding if they're close relatives. You're not. You may say to yourself, I don't care for them. I don't like them. Okay, if that's enough, then be ready, because in fact, there's a good chance that they'll take this very personally, they'll get very angry, and I doubt that you'll ever have a relationship with them again. And if you say, well, I don't care if I have a relationship with them again, I have one now. Well, that's the consequence of doing what you wish. If simply saying, these are the people I want at my wedding and these are the people I don't. You can do that. Okay? You're perfectly welcome to do that. It's your wedding. To expect them to not get angry and upset childishly, it's not likely. And if you say, well, okay, so basically the people I'm inviting my wedding are just this circle of relatives that goes out, and at some point there's a cutoff, but it's way out there. Yeah. Now, there is one thing to consider. It may be that because they were invited to your wedding, they will feel warmer toward you, and perhaps at some point that relationship that you might have with them, however tentative, could lead to some kind of softening toward the Catholic Church or some kind of review of their own conduct. That could happen. But the crux of your whole letter is, one, do I have to? And two, am I condoning the way they live? No, you're not. You're not doing either. You don't have to do either. You're not condoning. You're simply saying you're invited to this wedding. Many, many people in my life who I'm relatively close to are living very counter to the Catholic faith they were raised in. Very counter. I have close association with them. I can't write them off. I can't say you're doing it all wrong, so get away from me. No, I will have a relationship with them as warm and as accepting in many ways as it can be, even though they know what the church teaches, I hope, or that I believe what the church teaches. But that said, if I'm going to have, say, a party at my house, and these are very, very close people in my circle of friends or relatives, I'm not going to say, you can't come because I know the way you're living. A generic e-person comes from Ken. Hello, Dr. Ray. Where does the hate, and he capitalized hate, come from? Followed by 6 question marks. Yes, I'm speaking of the hate for the current administration. Attacking, hostile, vile, violent. Where does the hate come from? Love to hear you do a monologue on this topic. Where does the hate come from? I've probably followed the political landscape much more closely, say, in the last 30 years. Prior to that, I had a naive trust that the people in charge of things, for the most part, were decent people who wanted to do what was good and right, and we have leaders that will lead well. I realize now, and I don't believe this is a nihilistic view, I don't believe this is a skeptical view, I don't believe it is a inveterately negative view, that unfortunately Positions of power put you in positions of self-interest. I have seen in the last 10 to 15 years in particular a serious hatefulness. It goes well beyond I don't agree with that. It goes well beyond what I think those folks are doing is hurtful, unpleasant. We got to see what we can do to alter it, do things about it. No, it is visceral. If you listen to exorcists, a lot of them will tell you that Satan is having a field day. That, in fact, the only way to explain some of this kind of absolute vile conduct, and given I've seen recently on social media a lot of high-profile people, particularly in the entertainment world, are actually and celebratorily admitting, yeah, they're Satanists. Yeah, absolutely. Now, that not so long ago was something to hide. Now it's just right out in front. It's no question. So, it does raise the issue, are there forces at work behind the scenes here? I think that's only one part of the explanation. I think social media is another part. It allows people to anonymously express very, very vicious, hateful, hurtful feelings, opinions, shots. It's ugly. It's ugly. It's ugly. The CEO of United Health who was murdered. You can disagree with what healthcare policies are and how they may handle things, but to absolutely cheer on murder? To say, yes, this was good. How do you explain that? Where does the hate come from, as our writer says? One of the factors is if you have abandoned God-directed life. Now, I was going to say if you've abandoned belief in God, but you still got 80% of people saying, I believe in God. So it isn't so much I believe there's this being out there. It's, does that being have any influence in your life? St. James says, yeah, you believe, even the demons believe and shudder. So as more and more people abandon a God-directed way of living, their passions, their instincts, their violent proclivities come to the fore. I'm also of the opinion that we've become a very, very self-centered people. In much of human history, you had to depend upon people around you. You needed people around. You needed the community because life was hard. Nasty, brutish, and short, as one writer put it. You needed people. Well, now we're very isolated. I pursue my own things more so than in the past. And I also have come to believe I'm pretty special. And if I'm pretty special, and you do things differently than I would like you to do them, I'm not just disagreeable, I'm hostile. Yes, as a psychologist, I wrestle with it too. Where is it coming from? Now, one might say, yes, regardless of what you think of our president, he does shoot from the hip and he says things and he punches back. That he does. He doesn't parse his words like most politicians do. Although that's not so much the case anymore, given the way that some of them talk. So yes, he can inflame the situations. And I think also some of this hatred is coming from the fact that you can't give people things for free and then take them back. Can't do it. You try to do it, they get really nasty. So there's so many factors at play here on why this is. I suspect, too, that we're just becoming a divided country between those who believe in God and who believe in being guided by His words and wisdom, and those who essentially say, I am God of my life. Yeah, we become very divided that way. Just a few philosophical musings on The Doctor Is In.
Looking for a trusted contractor for your exterior home improvements? Call locally owned Mighty Dog Roofing today for a quote on roofing, gutters, siding, or windows. Mighty Dog Roofing uses premium products including Owens Corning shingles and James Hardy fiber cement siding, and they offer one of the best warranties in the industry through their OC Platinum Preferred status. Visit MightyDogRoofing.com today or call 833-MIGHTY-4. That's 833-MIGHTY-4.
Being pro-life usually is associated with living a life of faith, and the reasons for this are not solely doctrinal, but are also what one might call experiential. Even with the marvels of modern ultrasound, the unborn child cannot be directly seen or touched. And yet, based on various signs and wonders, the pro-life person affirms and loves this hidden, shadowy reality. While the immediate reality is not there, still one who is awake to signs of the child's presence discards unbelief and believes. The life of faith requires a similar habit of being, opening oneself to the signs and wonders surrounding us every day, and from these signs and wonders to affirm that He is, just as the unborn child cries to us, I am. GuadalupeWorkers.org.
Hi, everybody. Dr. Ray Guarendi, host of The Doctor Is In. Ave Maria Radio has been putting out fabulous Catholic teaching, but the equipment we've got is aged. Like me, needs a lot of help. Some of the stuff is just hard to replace anymore. If you go to AveMariaRadio.net, please, for a donation for the equipment to reach much farther. You're not just donating, you're broadcasting hope. Thank you for joining me. This is Dr. Ray Guarendi. This is The Doctor Is In, the version. Two-person Monday. My producer man, Andy Kruchek, there in Ann Arbor. Ave Maria Radio Communications co-produces this program with the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network, some 500-plus stations, which means I've got close to 500 listeners because, well, okay, maybe no, that's not true, because I was going to say because you at least have to have one person in the office with the radio on in the office, but a lot of them are translators, so I'm still around 160 listeners, but they're loyal. Every time I take my 4-year-old to the store with me, I hear, I want one of those, or buy me that. He'll quiet down if I get him what he wants. Well, of course he will. If I say no, he carries on. Loudly. The simplest thing to do is to leave him at home. Now, I'll tell you, some experts would tell you that. They say, just leave him at home. I don't buy that, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I am a single parent, and because I have no one to leave him with, he must go with me. All right. You don't want to have to say, I have to structure my movements around the behavior and the emotions of a child. Many people do. You can if you want. But I prefer teaching the 4-year-old some different things. For example, here's what Mom could do, be very easy, and it would work so well. Before she goes into the store, while she's in the car, he's in his car seat, she says, "Don't ask me for anything. If I get you something, it will be because I did, not because you asked. If you ask and you throw a fit, we could come out to the car and you'll be back in your car seat until you calm down." Now, I don't particularly like that one because that's kind of inconvenient for Mom. I would say, when we get home, you are in the corner, and I'm going to take one of your toys. Now, one might say, well, Dr. A, how long is she going to take it? 2 days, 4 days, 6 days, $1? No, she can take it for good. And I said one of your toys. She could have said, I'll take your favorite toy. That's what the shrinks call one trial learning. He will learn very quickly. Don't do that in the store. Because if you do, coming home, and Mom's grabbing that possession, and it's gone. At which point he'll melt down and throw another fit, but then she deals with that. See, a lot of parents don't want to discipline because the child escalates. The child gets nastier. They throw a fit or argue or do whatever they do. Sabotage. So the parents say, "Oh my, I don't even want to take the lid off of that behavior." Well, you got to. Otherwise, you're held hostage. She's right now confessing she's held hostage. I can't go to the store. I go to the store, he nags. And I don't want to create a scene. I don't want somebody to say, "Assistance needed on aisle 4, please." She's embarrassed. So you tell him beforehand what you're going to do if he does this. Now, some parents will say, "But wait. Isn't that kind of putting ideas in his head?" Well, my response to that one is, you don't have to put that idea in his head. He's been doing it. This is not something where he's going to think, "Oh, shoot, I never thought about that. Yeah, I could ask for something, and then if he doesn't give it to me, I'll throw a fit, and she'll get real embarrassed, and then she'll finally give it to me just to shut me up. Wow, why didn't I think of that? Oh, glad she told me." No, you're not putting any ideas in his head. Now, I've heard some experts say this. I tell you, experts second-guess parents up one side and down the other. Some experts will say, that is telling the child that you do not have confidence in him behaving appropriately. I guess I would say I don't. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior in similar circumstances. So yes, I don't have confidence that he will behave appropriately because he hasn't. Now, that doesn't mean I'm putting him down. Doesn't mean I dislike him. It simply means I recognize what's the likelihood here. And it isn't the fact that, I'm kind of conveying that you're sort of a unpleasant, useless 4-year-old. You know that? That's why I'm telling you I don't want you to do this. Now, some experts would say, well, try this. You're a big boy. And I'll bet that you're going to really behave in there nice and be a big boy and not ask for anything. Okay. If that works, go for it. It's got about a 3% chance of working, but go ahead, go for it. See what happens. Could work once, but by the second time he's thinking, wait a minute. I'm a big boy, but I still want that. I'm going to go back to the old way. Not because kids are dastardly, evil little creatures. They're kids. We've so much forgotten that. And that's part of why gentle parenting doesn't work. It's starting out with a premise that's flawed. That children are reasonable beings, eager to please and cooperate. So there you go. Save you a lot of money, too. Thank you so much for joining me here on The Doctor Is In. Good Lord permitting. See you tomorrow where we can talk voice to ear. I don't have to read what you're saying. I can listen to what you're saying. I thank you for keeping me company. Walk with God. Best walk you'll ever have.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.